local political reaction to Mark Carney's overwhelming win in the Liberal leadership race. Good evening and thank you for joining us. The Thunder Bay area's two Liberal MPs welcomed the selection of Mark Carney as party leader and as the next Prime Minister of Canada. Carney won the leadership race last night with a staggering 85.9% of the vote. Justin Hardy spoke with our local representatives today and joins us in studio. Justin, what are you hearing from Patty Hajdu and Marcus Pawlowski?
They're both very happy with the results, Ryan. They both backed Carney heading into this leadership race. Carney dominated in every single riding. The runner-up, Chrystia Freeland, received just 8% of votes, and Karina Gould and Frank Bayless got 3.2% and 3% respectively. With over 151,000 voters taking part, it's pretty clear who the party faithful wanted to lead them into the upcoming federal election.
Your new Liberal leader and the 24th Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney.
Mark Carney was elected leader of the Liberal Party on Sunday, positioning him to succeed Justin Trudeau as Canada's next Prime Minister. With over 151,000 party members voting, he won nearly 86% of the vote. Carney has a strong background in finance, having previously served as governor of both the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England. Thunder Bay Superior North MP Patty Hajdu has pointed to his economic expertise as a valuable asset, particularly in light of financial challenges related to the U.S.
What I kept hearing repeatedly from voters of all different stripes is they felt really safe and comfortable with Mr. Carney's specific experience in economic turbulence. What they said was that they felt we needed a leader at this time that was more than three-word slogans, more than personal insults, but certainly had the depth of character and experience to meet the challenges head-on that we're seeing.
Carney is set to become Canada's 6th ever Prime Minister to take office while not holding a seat in the House of Commons. To officially become a sitting member of Parliament, he'll need to win either a by-election or a general election. Thunder Bay Rainy River MP Marcus Pawlowski says he believes Carney's more than capable of handling the challenge of an election when it comes.
I've personally felt there's a great thirst in this country for the reasonable middle ground politically. I think people are tired of listening to the angry left and the angry right with their blowhorns and pushing to the extreme. I think people really want somebody who, as I say, occupies that reasonable middle ground. I think they want a person who's competent, a person with the education, the life experience.
There's no word yet on whether Carney will call an early election or if the opposition parties will force a non-confidence vote, but Canadians will definitely be heading to the polls by October 20th. That's the latest the federal government can legally wait. Justin Hardy, TBT News.
Well, we don't know exactly when that federal election will be held, but the New Democrats have their candidate in place in Thunder Bay Superior North. Joy Wakefield received the NDP nomination at a meeting of party members yesterday afternoon at the North End Rec Centre. The legal aid lawyer says she's grateful for all the support she's been shown following her decision to carry the party banner in that riding.
You know, this is something that I'm really passionate about. I've worked for years in this community and, you know, seen some of the worst of what's happening here in terms of the opioid crisis, in terms of, you know, the things that Indigenous people have been facing, in terms of, you know, environmental destruction. And, you know, I want us to reimagine what we can do as a society and what role that the government and laws can play in that. And so it really means the world to me to have people in this room, some of whom have been, you know, hardcore activists over the years for decades, and to have them believe in me, to have them offer financial support to me, to have them say wonderful, kind things about me is really inspiring and encouraging. And
Wakefield says whenever the election is held, she's ready to hit the ground running to try to unseat Liberal incumbent Patty Hajdu. Premier Doug Ford has followed through on his threat to impose a 25% surcharge on electricity exports to the United States. He's vowing not to relent until U.S. President Donald Trump takes the threat of tariffs completely off the table. Here's CTV's Siobhan Morris.
Maximum pressure for maximum leverage. It's why the Premier says he's following through on a threat.
We're moving forward with a 25% surcharge on electricity exports.
Enough electricity to power 1.5 million homes and businesses in the states of Michigan, Minnesota, and New York.
On an average, this will add around $100 per month to the bills of hardworking Americans.
On some days, those states might not actually need Ontario's energy. They typically act as a middleman and sell it to other states. Those sales would be hit with the surcharge too.
We are 30 times a net exporter. They need our power.
The move's expected to generate between $300,000 and $400,000 for Ontario every day it's in place.
Additional monies we're going to accrue in an account which the government is committing to putting back into the pockets of ratepayers to reduce bills for families and businesses.
Ford makes clear that 25% is an opening number.
I will not hesitate to increase this charge. If necessary, if the United States escalates, I will not hesitate to shut the electricity off completely.
The Premier not specific about at what point he'd be willing to take those steps. Lecce insists Ontario will be okay if the Americans go tit for tat on blocking the flow of energy.
We already have a connection and a commitment from Quebec. We sell them power, they sell us power on a need basis in winter, summers, based on our peaks.
But the Premier is again emphasizing to American TV viewers what his end goal is.
So let's sit down at the table and let's start working on a new USMCA deal. Even though President Trump said it was the greatest deal he's ever made, nothing's changed, so I guess it's not the greatest deal now.
That was CTV's Siobhan Morris reporting. Another Thunder Bay police officer has received his punishment from a judge after being found guilty of assault causing bodily harm. Constable Ryan Doherty was charged by the SIU after the incident in November of 2022. A 60-year-old mental health patient had wandered away from the regional hospital, and Doherty was asked to find the man and bring him back. But during their interaction on Oliver Road, the man received 4 punches to the head and suffered a fractured nose and a concussion. The guilty verdict was delivered in early October. Doherty's lawyer had argued for a conditional discharge with 2 years probation, but instead the judge handed down a suspended sentence today with 1 year of probation. That sentence leaves Doherty with a criminal record. He may now face additional punishment under the Police Services Act. St. Joseph's Care Group just opened its first 7 safe sobering beds this morning. Officials say these new services were recommended after a 2022 coroner's inquest into the jail cell deaths of Roland McKay and Donald Mamakwa. The safe sobering beds are located at the St. Joe's facility at 500 Oliver Road. Those 16 and older who are intoxicated by alcohol or under the influence of other substances can go voluntarily to sober up. They'll get a full medical assessment and access to a range of supports, including treatment options, mental health or social services, and Indigenous-focused care. Vice President of Clinical and Community Health, Andrea Docherty, says these beds are meant for short-term stays, but will also help connect people with ongoing support if they need it.
There is a real need. It's really important for us to be able to focus on the safety of our community. And right now, people who are publicly intoxicated and need some support while they sober up are often using services of our emergency department and occasionally our jails. And so this provides a much needed service for our community.
The Oliver Road site is also home to St. Joseph's Withdrawal Management Program. 8 more safe sobering beds are expected to open there by the summer. Rainy River OPP have arrested a Minnesota man who allegedly drove through the Canadian border crossing in the town of Rainy River this weekend. Police were called early Sunday morning by border officials at the crossing between Rainy River and Baudette, Minnesota. OPP located the suspect vehicle a short time later on Highway 11 and tried to pull the driver over. The officers ultimately used a spike belt, and the SUV eventually pulled into a driveway in Emo Township with damaged tires. A 25-year-old man from Badger, Minnesota was charged with fleeing police. The highway around Emo was closed for about an hour while police investigated. The Thunder Bay Public Library kicked off its March break programming today with more than 30 events at its branches this week. Today at the Waverley Library, kids were able to celebrate everyone's favorite mustachioed Italian plumber at a Mario party. Jessica Clement was there.
Waverley Library was bustling with children and their families on Monday. All of them very excited to celebrate everything Mario.
The kids are basically visiting Mini Island and they're participating in different challenges to earn coins so they can run a new Super Mario level.
Community Hub Tech Skyla Raison says the party isn't just to celebrate World Mario Day, but it's also one of the free events the Thunder Bay Public Library hosted to kick off March break. The Waverly branch was filled with activities for the kids, including a scavenger hunt, crafts, various mini-games, and an obstacle course.
My favorite is doing the line drawing because some were hard for me and that's what I like. Making the puppets because they were easy.
The library's various branches will be hosting over 30 events throughout the week for kids of all ages. Raison notes the programming is a great way to make learning fun for kids.
These types of events help build community, and it gives kids a chance to see their favorite storybook characters or video game characters come to life, and it's kind of just something fun to offer the community during March break.
She adds that 8 of the events require registration, while the rest are all drop-in.
Some of the programs at Waverly aren't available for registration or other things. I would encourage you to check out Tuesday morning County Park Branch Library has a Royal Tea Party, and Thursday morning there's a Puppy Perks program at Brody, and Friday afternoon there's a Craft-A-Palooza at the Mary Jail Black Branch Library.
More information about the March break schedule can be found on the Thunder Bay Public Library website. Jessica Clement, TBT News.
The temperatures have risen dramatically in recent days. Yesterday, the mercury reached 11 degrees, and the warm spell is really taking a toll on the city's outdoor rinks. The 2 boarded rinks at West Thunder Community Center have been closed as there are visible puddles on the surface of the rinks. Parks and Open Spaces manager Corey Halverson says only 8 of the 31 rinks remain open today. Those are all supervised sites and should only be used once the sun goes down.
Again, we have our 8 supervised sites, so as of right now, they're all boots only, essentially. It's a little bit too soft right now with the temperatures. It's been a tough go the last few days, especially through the end of the weekend, but they were still in use, some of the sites through the weekend, and then this week it looks like we'll have 1 or 2 more days. Nighttime temperatures are dipping down quite low.
The outdoor rink at Prince Arthur's Landing should stay open until the end of March due to its underground refrigeration system. Status updates on the local rinks can be found on the Live Outdoor Rinks map on the city website. Well, finally, we're happy to report that there's a new addition to the TBT News family. Our news anchor Riley McManus delivered a baby boy today. Asher James Daniel Butler was born at 5:15 this morning, weighing 7.12 pounds and measuring 19.5 inches. We're thrilled to share that mom, baby, and dad too are all doing well. And I have it on good authority that Riley even paid to have cable in the hospital room so that she can watch right now. And Riley, we are all very excited for you and can't wait to meet that little guy.
Absolutely. Right. So excited.
Yes. Haley, I suppose we do have to throw to weather now. As much as we would love to talk about little Asher for the next 5 or 10 minutes or so.
Absolutely. Well, one connection we can make is it's kind of cool that he's born during March break. That'll be fun as he grows up. And March break is an interesting time weather-wise, as we also mentioned earlier in the news. It's come with some warm temperatures to start, but it will get quite messy with all of that. Today, though, fairly dry. It's just a mostly cloudy day. We did have a high of 3 degrees around 3 in the afternoon, and our low was -3 at around 1 in the morning with a wind chill of -7. So not too much fluctuation, but above seasonal, or well above, I would even say. And winds predominantly from the east and a little gusty at times this afternoon, but not as gusty as we've seen over the past little while. Now, when we look at our region today, normally I kind of work west to east, but today I'm going to focus northern areas to more southern areas in our region. because that's where we're seeing a significant divide, not only in temperatures, but also in sky conditions, as areas like Red Lake, Sioux Lookout, and Armstrong, they all do have snowfall warnings from this afternoon leading into this evening and overnight, as they could see significant amounts. Red Lake's expecting about 10 to 15 centimeters, but areas like Armstrong could see 15 to 20 centimeters, and that could come with heavier downfall at times, making visibility not as great. So definitely be careful if you're out and about this evening. Now, areas like Pickle Lake and Greenstone, they have weather advisories because they could see 10 to 15 centimeters of snow over this course of time, but it shouldn't be as significant throughout. It could be more periodic with less visibility issues. Now, as you can see, temperatures in the north significantly colder than areas more south. As we see -9 in Red Lake, they did have a high of -7. That's kind of what they stuck with most of the day, but it has already started to get colder. Areas like Kenora and Dryden, they just started to see some light snow late this afternoon. Their temperatures were ranging around -2, -3 for a lot of the day now. Kenora is starting to get a little bit colder. Fort Frances, however, is quite interesting as they had a high of 9. Atikokan had a high of 10, already starting to get colder, but just like we saw that high of 11 the other day, we're still seeing that in other places across the region today. Now, areas like Nipigon, Marathon, they saw conditions more similar to us here in Thunder Bay, just a little bit above the freezing mark and just mostly cloudy. Wawa is at 4 right now, and Sault Ste. Marie is at a very comfortable 7. That was their high today, and they are under mostly cloudy conditions. Now for tonight, we'll drop down to -14, which is closer to seasonal for this time of year. Wind chills will be -18, and this is where those messy conditions start to come in. We could see periods of rain or snow coming in fairly soon, and then it'll turn more significantly into periods of snow as the temperature drops. And then overnight, not only will the winds finally start dying down a little bit, but we'll just have a 30% chance of flurries, Ryan. So I'd like to say that that's, good news, but I can't exactly say that. It's still going to be messy before our chances drop, and it could pick up again later this week as well.
All right, sounds like a disaster.
Bit of a mess.
Thanks. Yeah, a little bit. All right, thanks a lot, Haley.
No problem.
Okay, after the break, we will have more details on really a couple of big stories that we're following today. Of course, Ontario implementing that 25% surtax on energy being sent to the U.S. And, of course, Mark Carney is the new Liberal leader and Prime Minister designate. We'll have more on that right after the break.
Really honored by the mandate I received from the Liberal Party. A lot of wood to chop. Very much looking forward to meeting with the Prime Minister and getting going.